They say some men are born to rule, but Genghis Khan was born to conquer and cursed to be remembered forever. He was born in hunger and fear, yet his shadow would one day cover half the world. Before his name became a storm, before the earth trembled beneath his riders, he was simply Temüjin, a boy without a tribe, a son without protection, in a world that devoured the weak. From the steppes of Mongolia, he would rise to unite a people who had never known unity, and in doing so, he would change the course of history and doom his bloodline to its own curse. If you enjoy stories of history and power, remember to like this video and subscribe, so you won't miss the next great legend. Now, let us begin. He was born around 1162 near the Onan River, a land of endless grass, freezing winds, and endless conflict. His father, Yesugei, was a tribal chief of the Borjigin clan. But when Temüjin was still a child, his father was poisoned by rivals. By 1171, his tribe abandoned his family. Left with his mother Hoylun and his siblings, Temüjin learned what it meant to starve. He fished with bone hooks, dug roots from the frozen earth, and learned that mercy was a luxury the steppe could not afford. From that emptiness, something unbreakable formed, a will sharper than any blade. As he grew, he learned the ways of survival, loyalty, vengeance, and the weight of promises. He swore that one day no family would be left to starve, as his had. But first, he had to fight for his own freedom. Captured by the Taichiud tribe, he was enslaved, his neck bound by a wooden collar. But under the cover of night, he escaped. Aided by a single guard who pitied him, Temüjin never forgot that act of mercy, nor the lesson it carried, that even the smallest loyalty could change a life. By the early 1180s, he married Borte, his childhood love, but when she was kidnapped by rival tribes, Temüjin gathered allies to bring her back. That rescue, that first act of defiance, would set in motion a destiny no one could stop. Each victory brought him followers, each betrayal resolve. By his 20s, he had become more than a survivor. He had become a leader. The Mongol steppes were chaos, a world without kings or peace. Tribes fought endlessly for pasture, for pride, and for blood. Temüjin saw what no one else did. Unity was survival. He forged alliances not through noble birth, but through trust and merit. He rewarded loyalty, punished betrayal, and redefined what it meant to lead. His army was no longer a mob of raiders. It was an organism, disciplined, mobile, ruthless. He organized them into units of tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000s. Each man knew his place. Each man could take command if the next fell. By 1201, his victories had shaken every rival Khan on the steppes. But when his former blood brother, Jamuka, turned against him, the steppe was torn apart by war. Temüjin was outnumbered, hunted, nearly broken, but he returned, with vengeance in his eyes. He fought battle after battle across the plains, wars so fierce they became known in legend as the battles of the rivers. By 1206, at a great council known as the Kurultai, the tribes of Mongolia gathered. They declared him Genghis Khan, universal ruler. The boy who had once been left to starve was now master of all the steppes. But even as cheers filled the plains, an omen hung in the air. The shamans warned that a man who united the steppes would pay a price greater than his victories. And Genghis, though unshaken, carried that shadow within him. In 1209, Genghis Khan led his first campaign beyond the steppes, against the Western Jia Kingdom of northern China. Empires of walls, silk, and wealth, they looked down on the nomads as barbarians until their cities began to burn. The Mongols did not fight like traditional armies. They moved fast, struck hard, and vanished before their enemies could regroup. Their horses carried them hundreds of kilometers in a single day. Their archers could kill from the saddle at full speed. Their minds were disciplined by one rule: obey without question. By 1215, Beijing had fallen. The Great Wall had failed to contain the storm. But Genghis wasn't driven by greed alone. He demanded tribute, loyalty, and respect, not destruction for its own sake. Yet when resistance came, his retribution was absolute. Cities that defied him were erased from the map, their names lost to time. From the ashes of China, his gaze turned west, toward Khwarazm, a powerful empire stretching across Central Asia and Persia. At first, he sought peace. He sent envoys with gifts and trade agreements. But in 1218, the Khwarazm Shah executed his ambassadors. It was the greatest mistake of his life. In 1219, Genghis invaded Bukhara, Samarkand, Urgench. Each fell in flames. His message was carved into history with fire and fear. Those who surrendered lived. Those who resisted vanished. And though he called it justice, the world began to call it a curse. From that campaign onward, entire civilizations would rise and fall under the Mongol banner, and Genghis himself began to wonder, had he unleashed something even he could not control? By 1220, Genghis ruled most of Central Asia. Victory had brought him more than land. It brought responsibility and paranoia. He knew that an empire built on terror alone would crumble. So he began to shape order out of chaos. He established a code, the Yasa, laws that bound every man under him, noble or not. Stealing, lying, betrayal, all punished without exception. Discipline was survival. Equality was strength. He appointed generals based on skill, not bloodline. He welcomed artisans, scholars, administrators from conquered lands. Religious tolerance was enforced. Muslims, Buddhists, Christians, all served under his banners. For Genghis, loyalty mattered more than origin. By 1223, messages and trade flowed freely across his empire. A network of relay stations, the Yam, connected cities from the Caspian to the Pacific. Merchants, diplomats, scholars traveled in safety for the first time in centuries. The Silk Road, once broken and dangerous, thrived under Mongol protection. But even peace bore its curse. In his old age, Genghis grew distant, haunted by dreams of blood and smoke. He had built a world without borders, but one held together by fear. And he knew that when fear fades, the world breaks again. By 1227, his empire stretched from the Yellow Sea to Persia, the largest land empire the world had ever seen. And yet, the man who forged it could find no rest. During his campaign against the Western Xia, he fell ill or was wounded. History does not agree. He refused to stop. Even as his strength faded, he commanded from the saddle, his will carrying him further than his body could endure. Before he died, he gave one final command: continue the expansion, keep the tribes united, and hide my grave so no man would claim to stand above me. He died that same year, 1227, around the age of 65. His body was carried back to Mongolia under the veil of secrecy. No one knows where he rests. Some say the forest of Burkhan Khaldun swallowed his tomb. Others whisper that those who searched for it never returned, and the ground itself guards his silence. After his death, his sons and grandsons continued his work. By 1229, the Mongols crowned Ögedei Khan, and the empire grew even larger. They conquered China, Russia, the Middle East, even parts of Europe. But the same blood that built the empire would tear it apart. The sons of Genghis turned against one another, and the unity he fought for was lost. His lineage spread across the world: kings, emperors, rulers claiming descent from his line. Yet none carried his spirit. The empire shattered, leaving only dust and legend. They called him a god, a monster, a visionary. But in the end, his curse was immortality, to be remembered for eternity, yet never understood. He was born in hunger and fear, but dreamed like a god. And the world still lives beneath his shadow.